Integrity, Florida.
I can confirm. Although they have great public access to it.
Do they now?
I watched several board meetings.
I didn't even see Jim.
This is the thing I do when I go on vacation, watch board meetings and never go look at it.
Like theirs?
I don't know where he just.
Yeah, no.
They wait about 30 seconds. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Where'd it go?
I don't know. Oh, we have. Good.
You know, 12 minutes from the thing.
Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Town of Wendell Board of Commissioners and welcome all of you here tonight. We have a nice full house. That's always nice. Happy to have you here. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Police Chief Bill Carter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Chief. Our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches is from Pastor Asa Bell of Pleasant Grove Baptist Church. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, all. Before I do the invocation, I am delighted to be here. I want to share with you some things going on over at Pleasant Grove. Particularly during this summer, we are privileged to be hosting 50 children for summer camp. We're in partnership with Passage Home in Raleigh. Have summer camp 6 weeks that began 3 weeks ago and will go into August. 8:30 until 5 o'clock each day. Would love for you all to drop by and say hello if you have an opportunity. Would also invite you to come this weekend. We'll be having our homecoming celebration, 155 years of church in Wendell. On Saturday, we'll be having a family fun day, family and friends fun day from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. You're invited to join us. And then on Sunday, our 10 o'clock a.m. worship service, I'll be preaching. Our 2 o'clock afternoon service, Reverend Lee's son, who is back there, Reverend James Lee's son, will be preaching that service. So please, anytime you are available, come and join us. We welcome you to Pleasant Grove. With that, let us bow our heads in prayer. Gracious God, our Father, you are a great God and greatly to be praised. We thank you for this day. We thank you for every blessing that you bestow upon us. We thank you for this United States of America and for this town of Wendell. We thank you for those who have been positioned to elevate you and to elevate this community to heights that only you know. We thank you for the citizens of Wendell, for all who count themselves among the number. And now, God, we pray for godly wisdom for those who are in leadership. We pray that you would grant them the same grace that you grant unto us to lead effectively as they not only look out for some, but as they advance the cause of all of the citizens of this town. Be unto them all that they need. Be with us all in this meeting tonight, and may you be glorified in all that is said and done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you again for being with us tonight. Do we have any adjustments of the agenda?
I've got one, Madam Mayor, we strike item 8, that meeting was rescheduled.
Are there any others? Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
All in favor? We have no one signed up for public comment period tonight. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Thank you. Item number 4 is a lease agreement between the Town of Wendell and Interstate Ministries. Mr. Pulaski, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Whew, that sound's coming through good. Ryan Jones, the lead pastor from Interstate Ministries, approached the town some months ago and was very interested in renting the community center, very much in the same capacity as the Passage Church was. They've become very active in our community. I think everyone on the board has had a chance to meet with Ryan. He's also here tonight if anyone has any questions for him on this lease agreement or where the church stands as far as this goes. This agreement is very similar to the one that Passage Church had, a little difference being we were renting the Passage per room. This is just a one lump sum package of the whole facility for that $1,000 a month. And then they would have the ability to reserve the gym for youth free play if they would like, or if they want to host something in the conference room, they would also have that ability to add that on as an additional charge as well. The initial agreement would start September the 1st and would go every Sunday until June of 2019. And then from that point on, the contract would renew on a yearly basis come July 1.
Is that to keep it on our fiscal year?
Yes, ma'am.
I
That's
had
going to get us
written
from
that
September
down,
to the
actually.
next budget
Okay.
year.
I
That
had
way
that
it keeps us consistent when Butch is looking at budget. He
Right.
knows what's coming
I
in.
assumed that's what it was, but I
Yes.
just wanted to be sure.
And Jeff, what time will you guys determine the future year follow-up? I mean, is this something you guys will start discussing early spring as far as budget preparations?
Yeah, we could look at things in the early spring. The good thing is the times that they're wanting the gym does not really conflict with anything that we're doing. They would be out a little earlier than Passage was, because their services start a little earlier than Passage did. So it would actually get them out a little sooner for us to be able to come in Sunday afternoons.
Okay.
And Ryan is here if you have any questions for Ryan.
Anyone have any questions?
Jeff, will this require staffing on our part?
Not any at all.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the lease agreement between the town of Wendell and the Interstate Ministries.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the lease agreement between the town of Wendell and Interstate Ministries. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 5 is an evidentiary quasi-judicial hearing for a water allocation application request for an exemption. Mr. Cawley is going to go over the rules of procedure for an evidentiary hearing for us.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Board. The nature of a quasi-judicial proceeding is different than your typical zoning hearing in several ways. As you're used to with a zoning matter, you have discretion as a board. You can decide you don't think that particular use is good in that location, and you may have reasons unto yourself for making that decision. You have wide latitude and discretion. That's not the same rule that applies with a quasi-judicial proceeding. If the application meets the requirements set forth in the ordinance or the town policy, then the application shall be allowed, is the way the law provides. It's much more objective and less subjective than the typical rezoning. The ultimate goal of a quasi-judicial proceeding is a fair hearing, so certain due process rights apply, such as cross-examination of witnesses. Witnesses are sworn in and give testimony under oath. The testimony has to be relevant, material, and substantial in order to support the decision. The burden is on the applicant to persuade the board that the requirements are met. Ultimately, the goal of a fair hearing is, I've had boards before where I've suggested I was going to bring them robes for quasi-judicial hearings, because you have to get in the mindset of being like a judge rather than like a commissioner. On the street, if you get approached by an applicant for a rezoning about something, it's very common and expected that you'll engage that person in a conversation about their application, or someone who's opposed to the application. That rule doesn't apply with quasi-judicial proceedings. It's like approaching a judge ex parte about your case. You don't do that. So if anyone's been lobbied or contacted personally by the applicant or by opposition, you should disclose that so it can be determined by the board that you are fair and impartial and able to make a decision based on what you hear tonight, not on anything that's been presented to you prior to this hearing. So it's maybe easier explained than implemented, but that's the role you're in tonight with this type of proceeding.
All right, thank you. Anyone who wishes to present testimony can just step forward now, and the clerk is going to swear you in. If you even think you might say something, come on and get sworn in. Sometimes when you're sitting and listening, you all of a sudden feel like you want to say something, so this is your opportunity, if you even think there's a possibility of it.
Is it about any subject that we're going to discuss here, or one specific?
For this case.
Okay. So it's not about the water.
Well, this is about the water allocation request for the subdivision.
Okay, so it is. All right, that's fine.
So left hand or right hand?
My husband.
All right. I'll hold it, that'll make it easier.
Well, my husband is outside. He got a phone call, so he'll be here to do it. Okay, it's fine.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide is true to the best of your knowledge, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll go hear from Mr. Bergmark now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board. As stated tonight, we're here to hold a quasi-judicial hearing on a water allocation request for property located off of Academy Street and Short Street. And we're looking for the board to hear the material, consider taking action. Action could consist of adopting the attached ordinance, which is a utility agreement, which requires to be execution both from this board as well as the applicant for approval. So this all derived or came from our water allocation policy, which kind of manages our water that we receive from the city of Raleigh. We see as a limited resource. We want to make sure that it is promoting economic development, smart growth practices, and prioritizing our goals of the town. This is accomplished by having a scoring system for specific uses and improvements which advance the goals that we state forth in our policy. The policy includes 3 scenarios in which an applicant may obtain water allocation, which vary based upon the amount of sanitary sewer capacity that the town has, as well as the number of points that are scored. There are base points for different uses. Details of those allocation scenarios you have provided in your report. In this case, the applicant, Lucius Jones, has submitted a water allocation request and is seeking to obtain allocation through scenarios 3, which allows the development submittal to be exempt from some of the requirements under scenario 1 and 2 of the water allocation policy, so long as they meet specific criteria that are outlined in that policy. So there's 5 specific criteria. So in order for the town board to approve this request, we must hold this hearing that we're here tonight to hold, review those criteria that are outlined in scenario 3, and the applicant must demonstrate that those criteria have been met on the record, and then also by signing the attached utility agreement. So the scenario 3, the 5 criteria that have to be met in order to be eligible are the first one being the property submitted for allocation is within the primary corporate limits or adjacent to the primary corporate limits. This is an objective standard. And staff can confirm this is located within the corporate limits. The second criteria is that the property is less than 20 acres in size. Again, that's an objective criteria, and it is less than 20 acres in size. The third criteria is that there is no vacant or underdeveloped land of 10 acres or more in size adjacent to the property which could feasibly be added to the development to create a larger subdivision. This is slightly more subjective. You need to look at the adjoining properties and determine if there's any evidence to the contrary. The fourth criteria, that the market will not support the development of the subject land as non-residential use that would score more base points than a major subdivision does. And the final criteria is that all homes shall have at least 1,800 square feet of heated space and that's outlined in the utility agreement, and it's something the developer, or the applicant in this case, has to agree to, and is outlined in the utility agreement that they would be signing. I mentioned the first two criteria are kind of objective. We confirmed that they're the case. Staff did want to mention a couple of points as they relate to the remaining criteria. The third one, that there's evidence demonstrating that no adjacent vacant parcels of 10 or more acres in size could be added to the development to make it larger than 20. The purpose of this scenario 3 was to kind of create an allowance for smaller residential developments that are generally more infill development that may not be able to meet all the standards that a large greenfield site may be able to. So we want to make sure that they couldn't easily just add on some adjacent acreage. So in looking at the adjacent parcels, there's no adjacent vacant parcels of 10 acres or more in size. There is an adjacent farm that you could argue is underdeveloped potentially, in that there's still a lot of open land on it. And that's owned by Betty Askew to the west. But this property only shares, less than 100 feet of property boundary with the proposed development Mr. Jones has, and there's no existing road access between those two parcels. I also did want to point out that as it relates to whether or not this property could be another non-residential use that might score more base points, which is criteria number 4, the town board did rezone this property to residential R4, which allows very few non-residential uses. There's only a handful of non-residential uses that are even allowed in that zoning district. And finally, the last criteria regarding the square footage of the homes, again, that's just something where Mr. Jones would have to agree to that requirement as part of this hearing. And that's all I have, unless there's questions, or we can hear from others that are sworn in.
Okay, we're going to hear from the applicant now. Does the applicant want to make a presentation?
My name is Lucius Jones. I live at 410 Selma Road, Wendell. I am the applicant. We have been through this process. We have met all the criteria the town has as far as for approval of its water allocation. This is an infill development. It's been through all the requirements. It's been met. We have presented the plans, our engineers here, our attorneys here. We presented all the information to the planning department, and they said that we have met all the criteria. So that's basically all I can tell you. I am applying by all your rules. Would you like to?
Does anyone else making application with you have anything they'd like to say?
Not unless y'all have some questions for me
We'll
or
get the
my...
questions in a minute. We'll come back to that in just a few minutes.
Okay.
But let's let you, this is your opportunity right now for you to present your request and to the board. So I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, let me just put my name on the record so y'all know who I am. I'm Pedro Crumpiture. I'm here acting as a lawyer for Lucius Jones. And I don't have anything to say right now, but I will maintain my right to cross-examine anybody on any other questions or any other applicants or anybody's, contentions. So I'll sit down for now, but I'm going to stand back up.
Well, we've talked about this property now for what, 4 years? It was turned down for residential, it was turned down for multifamily, and now it's come back to be approved by a single family. So, it's pretty widely known. It's an area that has never been developed in the history of Wendell, and this certainly would be an improvement and would provide housing which Wendell needs.
Can we just get one item answered for the record, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Can you confirm that you're willing to satisfy the 1,800 square foot minimum requirement?
Absolutely.
Do you have anyone else who'd like to have speak on behalf of your application? Okay. All right, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you weren't in here to be sworn in.
It doesn't matter, it's only formality. I just sworn in.
Can someone swear him in?
No, sir, you have to be sworn in to give testimony. It's a quasi judicial hearing. You had stepped outside.
Can somebody sworn him in?
Yeah, Ms. Scoggins, will you swear him in, please?
Lay your left, raise your right.
Okay.
Raise your right.
No, raise your right.
Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide is true to the best of your knowledge and belief, so
Yes.
help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
First,
Can you state your name for the record, please?
my name is Sergey, last name is Kessel.
And your address, do you have the
And
address?
we're talking about property 235 Short Street. It used to be part of a development before it sold to us.
So we are almost on the corner. We're right where this one piece of lot is. We're next door. So
You'll need to state your name. for the
Yes,
record.
ma'am, you need to give me your name.
my name is Paulina Varonsky, and I own this property.
Okay.
That is adjacent to the 235 Short Street. My house is 235.
Okay.
And what it is, like, first of all, you never put sign, a zoning board sign.
Last year.
Last year, if you never receive a letter from you guys, you want to subdivide the lots. I don't know why this developer have such a benefits, because it all the time was canceled. Because this development was ex-mayor of city of Wendell, that's why you want to give him benefit or something. Doing that, basically, you decrease our property, and he don't want to live over there. He just want to build, and overall, he want to be do like a quarter-acre lots. It can be extremely small. Next to us lot used to be unbuildable lot. I don't know why you want to play around and make this lot buildable and losing our property and value.
And the closeness to our property will be within 5 feet or maybe even 3 feet to our land. I mean, why was it approved? There was a reason it was not allowed before, but why it became allowed when the ex-mayor applied for rezoning.
It was denied couple times. Couple times it was denied. When we bought this property, it was agreement, unbuildable lot became a road. When you buy something, you have to count what is yours, not belong to somebody else. Why are we supposed to suffer? I believe you guys have plenty property and privacy. Why are we supposed to losing property and, and privacy and somebody just built and we're just losing? We bought this property for kids, make sure they can live comfortable and have some benefits. Builder usually, spec builders, he don't care. He just builds something and move on. And you guys actually ruin. Good example in the city of Nightdale. They built on main road 400,000 square feet house, 300,000, because they're looking for future, not build a ghetto and depreciate people value houses. And also, on the next meeting, I find out you don't even make a presentation plot plan with the development. You're supposed to do that, so. Because actually, no plot plan, no sign, basically, you're screwing people up. Who explain me what is going on? Maybe city of lawyer explain me what is going on. You're supposed to cancel meeting sign, like rezoning, cancel meeting on zoning, supposed to put like a sign on the property. Make sure everybody can see and be prepared. I never receive a letter to attend to the meeting. On the second meeting, we receive it. And second one, like...
If there would be at least a sign, we could have seen it, but there was no sign either.
Yes, and also when the first meeting, you're supposed to do presentation, make a plot plan, propose development, because I'm a builder by trade. I know what I'm talking about. I can show you a license, but it doesn't matter right now. You're supposed to make sure people can see what people dealing with.
What they proposing to build. When he went to the city, he spoke with this gentleman. City planner, and he showed him what kind of homes will be built on this lot. It's like gonna be, what?
How close to us?
There's gonna be 2 or 3 units on this small land, very close to our property line.
It's gonna be 6. It's
Mayor,
gonna be 6 feet from
Mayor,
our property.
We really need one person to testify at the
Yeah,
time.
I need y'all to go one at a time, if you can.
But bottom line is resolved. If you don't put sign and also you don't put like a proposed plan, you're already breaking law.
How can we?
One at a time.
Yes, you're already breaking law, seriously. Put sign, make sure everybody can see, put proposed plan in the first meeting, make sure everybody know what's going on. And second one, now you want a stormwater development, how about first plan? You just screw up, guys. Seriously, law is a law for everybody. Why is supposed to losing privacy if spec builder wanna screw up whole community? We don't build ghetto, you're just developing city. You develop, if somebody want to live, why is supposed to, you actually, I escaped from socialist country. Why you want to be like a formula, like little bit pregnant? You know, like you just want a socialist benefit, but live in capitalist country. It's not work that way. You have to choose. If you develop community and everybody increase the value, or we build sheds and everybody screw up and attract criminals. I mean, affordable houses, it means, you know, like if somebody study and develop something, he got money to buy something reasonable. If we're talking about affordable, it means reasonable. We're not supposed to losing value on a property. 6 feet, you know, like 6 feet from a property, it's no privacy. It's less than 6 feet. You know, why? I can visit your house. You probably have a more than 6 feet around your house. Why are we supposed to losing? We residents as well. Seriously. And this actually, you know, when we bought it, you know, it was denied many times, this development. Why it's granted now? If he used to be the city or mayor, he's supposed to know, he's supposed to develop community, give something to community, not screw up community, get profit margin, and get away. Yeah, if you want to say something, say it.
I guess the point is made.
Yeah, I'll make a point. And so what? You know, you screw up for in development. We're supposed to probably start from the beginning. Put like a sign over there, make a proposal, development proposal. You know, and not divide it. You not divide it like a smaller lots. For what? Screwing community? For what? You know, he already have a plenty money. Look at how many acres over there. Couple hundred more, couple $100 less. It can be enough. Look at his age. It's probably enough for his retirements and everything. He already scrapped one property, like I know, it used to be like a well in the middle of the house. Now it's well blown and screwing up everything. Yes.
And I need you to keep your testimony about specific things.
My
to this
specific
case,
is,
not
you,
about
my
personal
specific is, you're supposed to put like a council meeting sign at the front of the property.
All right.
Second one, you're supposed to propose development on the plot plan, make sure people really see what's going on. You know, like if it was denied 3-4 times before rezoning, why it's granted now? Because when we bought this property, it was agreement with the owner, this lot not buildable, it's supposed to be rolled through. This is it. You know, why are you playing around?
Yeah, we want some answers.
We want some answers, yes. And you know, look, you're not supposed to screw in community because these people deserve. One woman, she lived for 40 years, another man lived 15 years. We have this property like a 5-some years, you know. Why just builder want to screw up a privacy? We not deserve that. We can bring more people. If we not solve this one, we will complain. I mean, because it's ridiculous. Because he can sacrifice one lot or something and move on and keep people property. If he not respect us, we not respect him.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Okay, does the applicant have anything they'd like to say?
Mayor, can we go back to Mr. Bergmark for just a moment?
Yes, absolutely.
And can you recall, or do you have in the records, when was the property rezoned?
I don't know off the top of my head, but a year and a half ago or something along those lines. And there was a sign posted on Academy Street, which is where most of the frontage is. Not on the Short Street side, which just has a very small amount. There was a property sign. I can tell you that 100% saw it. Letters were sent out. So to the best of my knowledge, all procedural requirements were fulfilled. We don't have development plans submitted as long as they're meeting all of our codes in the UDO. We do have our public hearings for our rezoning that dictate the lot sizes and the uses allowed.
Thank you.
Mr. Bergmark, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't believe so, unless there's further questions.
Okay, did the board have any questions for Mr. Bergmark?
I had one. Basically, the only thing in this list of findings of fact that I can find, that is even, could be considered up for question, is the no vacant or undeveloped land of 10 or more acres in size that is adjacent to, which could feasibly be added to the development to create a larger subdivision. And you said there was a 57 undeveloped piece that was being used for active farming. Do you have that on a map?
I can show it to you. One moment. So in red, right now I have highlighted the property in question. The property that I mentioned that is, you could argue is underdeveloped, it's not vacant. It has multiple structures on it, but there's the only tract that's adjacent to it that's more than 10 acres is this piece of property owned by Betty Askew. The only place where it has any adjoining space is on the very westernmost boundary where this property, for less than 100 feet, touches this property. So I'll leave it to you if you know, the board thinks that's a reasonable.
I guess that would come to the definition of feasibly. To me, that doesn't, if you made that one, if you put both of those properties together and you said, hey, where's the most logical place to split them in half, it would be exactly where that property line is split, right there. You understand what I'm saying, Mayor? To me, that's not feasible to make that, to join those two properties together at that point.
I need to just, somebody just to show me why that's not feasible. I mean, explain to me.
What does feasible mean?
I mean, that's all I need to see. You can show me that, and then we're done with this.
So the intent of that rule is to stop somebody, whether it's the same ownership or adjacent ownership, you know, that was coming and developing, you know, a tract like this, and there's a big tract that adjoins a lot of it right next to it. Obviously, if this were owned by the same person, you'd say, well, you're just trying to avoid the 20-acre rule by subdividing there or by just developing this front piece. So that was one of the main goals. The other piece, if it's different ownership, is a little more open to interpretation. But again, I think it's the intent is to try to avoid something where there's a reasonable expectation that those should be developed together. In my opinion, this is not what you would call a natural extension of a subdivision. Even if these were somehow connected, there's not even enough width to have a road with homes on either side connecting the two. It would have to just be, you'd have a development over here, a road that goes in between, and then the development, homes start up again. There's not even enough width to have that kind of a connection. I can also say that this is an environmentally sensitive area on that part of the tract as well, so it would probably be more expensive to even try to make that kind of a connection, and it's crossing over a sewer line at that point as well. So I hope that's enough information to try to respond to that.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of what I was wanting to know, is the feasibility of it. Because I'm like Commissioner Boyd, that's the only thing we're really talking about here.
And obviously, the other property owner would have to be willing as well. The other property owner may have no desire to have this develop, which is a very important point. I don't have evidence to say one way or the other, but that would have to be established as well if you were going to try to make an argument that that would be a natural connection.
All right, does anyone on the board have any other questions from Mr. Bergmark or the applicant or anyone? All right. So, time for y'all to deliberate and make a decision. Discuss the findings of fact. Come to
Close the hearing. Was there any other comment?
Yes, no.
Go ahead and close it.
Okay. All right, so the hearing's closed. All right.
All right, well, to me, it just seems that if, like I said, we're trying to treat this as a hearing and that we're just looking at the evidence. If number 3 is the only criteria that we're discussing, and I think, and what I've heard, that the feasibility of connecting the two would be, it just wouldn't be feasible. I'll just say it that way. So my standpoint is that we should approve the exemption.
If I could just bring up one quick thing.
Sure.
Other than approve or deny, we also have approved with conditions. And I don't know if the applicant already has a plot plan. I don't know if he has anything. But it seems to me that the two in opposition that we heard from tonight were mainly concerned about how close the adjoining properties or the adjoining houses were going to be.
Proximity to
The
their
proximity
yard.
to their property line.
Yeah.
And I would simply ask, knowing that this would just simply be that, would it be possible to approve with conditions, the condition that there be a somewhat larger buffer added to that side, to the short street? It's going to be on the short, where the property line is for the 235 Short Street. I don't know, I mean, I don't know how to word that, or...
I think the applicant understood the question, so.
I don't know if they already have a plot plan in place, or if there was something they could do to...
Yes, sir, come on up here.
Yes, the plot plan has been approved, and the lot that he's speaking of is a currently plotted lot that was a house on it, and we will probably put a house back on that, but it would have to meet all the setback requirements of that zoning. I mean, it would be just like another house was being built next to his house. I mean,
Are we talking about the lot that's on the corner of Short and...
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
so where the street will go in, yeah, and it's a lot there that faces Short Street. There was an old house on it that got torn down. And that would be another lot in the subdivision. But it would have to have, you would have to comply with all the setback rules if another house was just being built.
I think what he's asking you is, would you be willing to add some additional buffering there with landscaping in that spot? I know you're going to comply with the setback rules, but are you willing to add additional?
I don't know that I can without messing up a whole lot. I don't know that.
Can Mr. Bergamart, can you get it up here on the screen for us? Because this can be approved with conditions, and that can be a condition, I assume, if that's what y'all are choosing to do.
I'm just trying to find I'm trying to exhaust every
I don't mind doing
opportunity.
it if it doesn't cost me a lot, you know, that's, I'm not willing to give a lot of.
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. Your time, I'm sorry, your time, we've already had yours.
This lot becomes unbuildable after we purchased it, was subdivided. It was a house.
That's theirs.
I'm gonna have to ask y'all
So
to be
this-
quiet.
these they're looking
I'm sorry. Your
So-
time's done. Thank you. This is the time for the board to ask questions now. And if they have a question of you, they will ask it. Sir, I need you to hold on. If they have a question of you, they will ask you about it. Maybe since you seem like you've got something you want to say, someone will ask you, but you need to wait for your turn, okay? Right now, they're speaking to the applicant. Okay, thank you.
So I've circled the property that's being discussed. So the property directly to the south of, so this is the Barunsky, I may be pronouncing that wrong, but property. The property just north of it, circled in green, is the property that's being discussed, where it is, you know, it could potentially in R4 have a relatively small setback. They are going to have to dedicate some right-of-way from what that lot currently is, so that's going to constrain that lot a little bit more already. And being a corner lot, it does have to have more setback off of
The corner.
yeah, off of the corner, off of Academy Street side, which, you know, does leave it a little bit constrained. I will also mention that under the R3 zoning, that it was previously, your minimum lot width is 60 feet. Now, in this case, this lot is shown as more than 60 feet, but the minimum lot width that you could go to in an R3 is 60 feet, and the minimum setback, if you were at that minimum lot width, would actually only be 6 feet, compared to in this district, it can go down to 5 feet.
It is close.
Can you scroll up just a hair so I can see a little bit further down Short Street?
I'll have to go to
Wait,
IMAPs
you
to
can.
show, yeah, that's the edge
I got you.
along Short Street. I can go to IMAPs if you'd like.
If you don't mind, just real quick.
Yeah, clear this. I can zoom in more. I don't know how far down you're trying to look on Short Street.
The big building just south,
This one?
these industrial looking,
Yes, this area is zoned in manufacturing and industrial. And you can see the cell tower that's also on that same site.
Okay, I'm good. That picture when the house was, that was at the house that was there.
I think it's already gone in that photo. Not unless it was really, that looks like a shed or something in the back. So currently, the lot width for that area, and it's gonna be reduced by the right-of-way dedication, is 100 feet, but they're gonna have to dedicate right-of-way for Wall Street. So the lot width as shown on the preliminary plan is 74.6 feet. And the house would be fronting on, I'm assuming on, it would have to front on this way because you don't have your lot, you don't have your depth to go that way.
It's gonna front Short Street?
Yeah, it's gonna front on Short Street because he doesn't have enough lot depth in order for it to front along Wall Street.
So the actual rear yard buffer for that lot is in between
1 and 2.
1 and 2, not in between
Correct.
the
So it-
plotted lot and the neighbor's lot.
Correct. It would be a side yard buffer between lot 1 and the other speakers.
So then, Mr. Brevard, all the houses on Short Street then will face Short Street then? I mean, all the ones kind of going vertically there. It sounds redundant to say that, but they all will be facing Short Street. All be facing the same way.
Right, so the other houses on the same side of Short Street face Short Street. So
Okay.
this will be in the same orientation as the other ones on that side of the Short Street, yes.
Okay, okay.
What is the width of the lot?
So this is their side yard,
74.6.
kind of, that's in question.
Not their backyard.
Okay, so that's their side.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. They don't care what it is, it's just too close to
What,
them.
what
I
is the
understand,
requirements
okay.
for a buffer down there, 6 foot?
So all that's required here is 5, so if you did 10, you'd be doubling it.
If, I would be willing to double the size of the buffer for that particular side between my property and their property, if you would.
So down the side of this house that you're proposing, okay.
We'll put a 10-foot buffer there instead of 5.
And he's referring to a setback
Yeah.
when he says that. So
Okay.
10-foot setback rather than 5-foot setback.
But not landscaping. I want to make sure I understand. Is it a setback of space or is it landscaping buffer?
Well, when he's quoting the 10 versus 5, that's a setback. So the
Okay.
side setback is currently required to be 5, and he's proposing it to be 10.
So you just want to come off that line 5 more feet? Okay.
Okay.
But nothing would be there like a physical barrier, but, okay.
Someone
I just
could
wanna
put a
make sure I
fence there if they-
understand.
If the property
Yeah.
would like to, they'll put a fence there, yeah.
I just want to make sure I understand. I think make sure we're all using the same semantics and things. Okay. I have questions for the opposition people. Okay. Do you have any further questions, gentlemen, at this end? Okay. up to y'all.
A motion to approve with the condition that lot one have a side yard setback increase to 10 feet.
Is that your motion?
Second.
And with the other conditions consented to as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve doubling the setback from 5 to 10 feet and with the other conditions agreed to as well. Is that accurate statement of what you said,
Yes.
Mr. Boyette? Okay, is there any discussion of the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, thank y'all. Item number 6 is board appointments to citizen advisory boards. Ms. Goggins and I guess Ms. Piner.
Okay, Madam Mayor and Board, at the conclusion of the appointments to the Citizen Advisory Boards on May 14th, the following boards have vacancies effective July 1, 2018. Your Board of Adjustment with 1 in-town member, EDC for 2 members, Parks and Rec, 1 in-town member, and your Tree Board, 1 member. Round 2 of the Citizen Advisory Board recruitment launched on May 29th and concluded June 14th. Applications were placed in the June 25th agenda packet for the town board's review. The board had the opportunity to put a face with the name with those applicants that were at the board meeting at that time, and the board is requested to take action this evening. And for those in attendance, the process will be appointments to the Citizen Advisory Boards are by written ballot. This evening, the roster of the current board members will be displayed, followed by the slate of candidates. The Board of Commissioners will proceed with 1 Citizen Advisory Board at a time. Voting is by signing your ballot. After each vote, the ballots will be tallied and announced. At the conclusion of the meeting, ballots will be available for inspection in the clerk's office. So, and in keeping with the town board's rules of procedure, a person may serve on 1 town citizen advisory board at a time. So with that, this is your Board of Adjustment, and we have 1 vacancy with the term expiring June 30th, 2021. And those are your slate of candidates for the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you.
Okay, it's unanimous. Mr. Benson will be appointed to the Board of Adjustment. Okay, for our EDC, we have 2 vacancies with terms expiring June 30th, 2020. And this is your roster of applicants, and you may choose 2. Okay, after tallying your votes, Ms. Emma Benson King and Lucius S. Jones Jr. will be the appointments to your EDC. For our Parks and Rec Commission, we do have a vacancy. We did not receive an application this particular round. And the Tree Board has a vacancy, and we did not receive an application for this particular round. So our hope is that any of our citizens who are willing to give of their time and talent for the Tree Board or the Parks and Rec Commission will go ahead and submit an application, and if so, those will be put into a future board packet.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 7 is our snapshot. Yeah, what?
Was adding trash cans and a bench out to
Police?
the basketball court at the police station, was that on here, or was that just something we just quickly
I
discussed?
think it's something we quickly discussed, and the chief said they pull the trash can out, and that was okay for the time being. And I don't know that did we task the bench?
We did go out and take a look and looked at some different locations there, and one of the things that the police department would like to see is a partnership would maybe be working with one of the Boy Scout groups or putting something out there. It's certainly something we could buy, but just being that it's at the police department, that it is with the basketball goal and different kids, thought it would be a good relationship there to build something.
Have we contacted any of the Boy Scout groups?
Not that I'm aware of. I would have to ask the chief if you have any.
I've spoken to Jeff Pulaski, because most of those people typically come down there to him.
Right.
He suggested maybe even Girl Scouts, that's kind of a community project that they can take on. So I spoke to him since our last board meeting, trying to see if we may, the next people to come in looking for something to do. But we also have, as opposed to a regular rollout, Public Works staff has put a regular can with a liner in it down there, and trash is being serviced down there.
Okay. I don't want to just sit around and wait for someone to come along. I mean, we kind of hurry up and wait a lot. I don't want to do that. So let's try to figure out a way. Is there anything else? All right. We removed item number 8. Item number 9 is Commissioners' Reports. Let's start with Commissioner Joyner tonight. I'm sorry to the IT folks, I'm switching it up a little bit.
I was unable to be in town for the 4th. I was able to get away with my family and go on a vacation. It looked like the 4th of July parade was a big success. And hate that we missed it this year, but we'll be back next year. And then just wanted to thank staff who I know worked before and after to make sure that all that flows smoothly. And as well as thanking Ms. Scoggins personally. She's during our ongoing search process, she stepped up quite a bit in setting up things for that process, and I really appreciate her commitment to the job.
Mr. Boyette, Commissioner Boyette?
I was able to make it to the July 4th festivities. my little girl was ecstatic to be old enough to ride her bicycle in the parade. Decorated her bike and begged the mayor to let us win the prize for this. Didn't work. See, we're loyal to the mayor.
No commissioner's children are ever gonna win. All of y'all just know that. I get catch flack about that every year.
So, but,
Just come and have fun.
We had absolute blast and it seems like there are more and more people every year. I mean, the crowds were spilling off the sidewalk into the street. There was barely enough room to stage all the kids and bikes and wagons and everything else. And I thought it was pulled together very well attended. I just want to thank town staff for all the time they put into it. Everything from making sure there were plenty of, trash cans to making sure the Wi-Fi was up and running, to helping with scheduling it and lining up this and taking pictures. I just thought it was very well put together, and I know the Historical Society has a lot to do with it too. And so I just want to thank everybody that had anything to do with that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Lutz?
I'll just echo those comments, and then just kind of on another note, just also thank you to all the businesses who stayed up on the 4th to be there for the citizens who wanted some food or drink. So I know that's time away from your family, so thanks to those businesses who helped make the downtown area really good. That's all.
Commissioner Carroll?
No comment.
Real quickly, I also wanted to thank everybody about the 4th of July. It was a great event. It's always very festive and patriotic, and I look forward to it every year. I specifically want to thank the Wendell Historical Society. I think I saw one or two of them in here tonight. They plan this, and they really plan it for several months ahead of time, and a lot of work goes into it. Things like that always have more work that go into them than they seem. A lot of work goes into it, though. And they were also assisted by the Wendell Baptist Church that prepared all the food, and the town of Wendell, which prepared ahead of time, and I'm sure did some cleanup afterwards. So thank you guys for that, and all the town staff that was there in various capacities. And the parade participants, thank you, boys and girls, for being there. The bikes and scooters and wagons and all looked great this year. It's always difficult to choose the winners of the prizes, but I appreciate you being there. As far as what you said about staging, we actually already had a wrap-up meeting about it this morning, and one of the things that came out of it, just so everyone knows, is I feel like the children are staged in a hot area. And so next year, we're either going to move them across the street or get a tent or something, because it's awfully hot out there on the asphalt, but we do appreciate the use of the space for that. I have one quick reminder. Our Bond with the Blue is coming up. It's an opportunity for you to come out and meet some of our police officers. It's going to be held on Tuesday, July 17th from 6 to 8. And this time it's going to be at the farmhouse at Wendell Falls. It travels all around, and we have it in various places. And this time it's going to be at Wendell Falls. So if you have some time, take your kids and go out, and they can crawl around in the police car and hit the siren and things like that if they weren't able to do that at other opportunities at Public Safety Day and whatnot. And I think we have a motion.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143318.11A6, please.
Okay, so we have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
How you doing?
July 4th. Where were you July 4th?
We decided to take a